Great day, attractive thinker. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. We are ready for you this week. I trust you had a fantastic and amazing week. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Mindset Monday. We made it and we'll make it again and again. We get to do what we've never did, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have. It's a great day to be alive.
It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. Attractive thinkers, I know you're ready. You have your Attractive Thinker notebook handy. And I want to remind you, today we're going to be talking about a specific topic. It's in our experience on Amazon. There it is right there, the Attractive Thinker experience. Make sure you have your copy because we're going to be talking about page 37 today. There's something that is required for this next move in your life. This next move is going to require power. I want you to understand that sometimes in our lives, we get to where we are on our energy and what we're doing and the action that we're taking, but we reach some points in our lives whereas the action that we're taking is not going to get us to where we need to be. It's not going to get us to the next level. This next move is going to require power, and today we're going to be talking about what kind of power, because I'm sure you've heard the word power before, but not sure how to tap into it, not sure what it is. What do you mean, Dr. Toni, when you say power? What are you talking about, Tichet, when you say tap into it, identify what it is? And once I understand what it is, what are the benefits of it for me? How do I use it? How do I use it to accomplish what I desire to accomplish in my life? And it's so many different levels of this power, but this next move right here, you've made it all the way up here. This next move is going to require power, and that power is not coming from outside of you. It's coming from the inside. So today we're going to be talking about how to tap into what it is and how to tap into the power within. Talk to us, Tichet, about this next move.
Yeah, so last week we talked about pain produces the power for the vision, right? And so after you understand what your pain produced the power, now we have to understand what that power is. And like you said, what do we do once we obtain that power? So for instance, we'll start off with power. Power is the energy for which you feel alive. This is my own definition. Power is the energy of connection. Power is the energy of manifestation. Power is the understanding, the wisdom, and the knowledge that shifts and changes things. When we have power, we access something in us that makes us feel alive, that makes us feel well, that makes us feel like we can make change and that we can get through everything. When we access that type of power, we have to honor that. We have to honor what makes us feel alive. We have to honor the connection. We have to pay attention to what gives us the connection. I remember one time, Dr. Toni, we were talking about that the power and the vibration. When you plug into something, you have an expectation. When you plug into something that you think is going to give you power, that expectation means you're feeling a surge coming back to you of something more than what you were before you plugged in, or something more than what you're normally used to when you are plugging in. You're looking to be turned on. You're looking to be tapped in. You are looking to have something happen or something to ignite when you tap into power. Now, here's the thing. You don't always need everybody to tap into in the power, but you definitely need some great connections or some great people in your life who can help you tap into power when you're feeling lost. So when you feel like you can't go anymore, you have to have connection to people who have their own power that they can then share with you when you feel like your light is a little bit dim. And then you have to have your power moves, right? What is your power moves? What's your breakfast, your lunch, your mental breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What are the things that you do that cause you to feel ignited, that cause you to feel like I can just conquer anything, that cause you to feel strength, that cause you to move forward, so that you don't feel or live a life of being stale, stuck, and stagnant, you know? And so what type of moves do you have in place that allows you to maintain going forward? You have to be able to plug in, like we said, you have to be able to connect. You have to know what connects you and what doesn't. Everything is not for everybody, and that has to be okay. You have to know what is for you. You have to understand what makes your heart beat and what doesn't, and be okay with that, and allow yourself that as long as you're not hurting anybody or infringing upon someone else's will, you have to be okay with what your heart and your desires are, because that's an indication that there's some things in you that require that situation or that experience in order to connect or enhance your power. And so you have to pay attention to what makes you feel alive and keep doing and adding to it. And you start to feel more and more power, more and more alive. The whole goal for us here is to discover and to allow ourselves to ascend in spirit, to allow ourselves to grow, and to make us feel alive. That's why we are in these physical bodies, because we wanted to be able to discover the earth, the universe, the creation, the creator. We wanted to be able to discover all these things with more than just spiritual senses. You know, we wanted to be able to discover certain things, like children. When they first come across something that they don't know what that is, the first thing they do is they examine it. They see what they can make out of it physically, see what they can make out of it with touch. Sometimes they'll put it in their mouth and see if there's something there to discover what a thing is. And we have to do that in all areas of our life. We have to discover what makes a thing in our life, in order to determine whether it should be in our life or whether we should move past it. When you start paying attention to what gives you power, that starts to allow you to move in such a way where you're ignited, that you start creating power. You start creating who you are. You start creating what you are. You start manifesting your dominant vibration. When you start to move in that power, you start to change life from feeling dark to feeling bright. Now, do we all feel bright and all the time? No. I mean, if you feel bright all the time, then congratulations. That is awesome. I personally don't feel bright all the time, so I have to have certain things in place, like my power wall, my morning routines, my night routines. Sometimes I might call a friend or talk to Dr. Toni, my partner in power, and make sure that I have things set up, so when I don't feel the power, I can use those things to connect. And yes, when we say power wall, we mean all of these little sayings. Dr. Toni, in her experience, in the back of the book, she has all of these quotes and stuff that she has in there, so that we can build our power wall. When you build a power wall, you end up having a wall that fights for you. So when you open your eyes, or when you feel less, your power wall should be where your eyes place, right? Wherever your eyes, wherever, if I'm feeling upset, depressed, lost, dead, whatever I'm feeling inside that's not power, wherever my eyes go first, that's where the power wall should be. It's not about Q, right? When we in a state of emergency, we don't have time for Q, right? So we have to then build something that fights for us when we can't fight. I have built power walls. I have a power wall on my website. Dr. Toni has power clips on in the back of her experience, and I recommend all of you out there to take part in that experience she has. Is very life changing. But she has stuff in there like words of wisdom, things that got her through, things that she's heard, things that ignite, that are on fire, that you can use as one of the tools to help give you power. The next move for us to make once we understand the power is to protect it. The next move we have to make once we understand the protected, we have to pay attention, protect it, and then build on that. Like we have spent a lot of our life building on limitations, building on restriction, building on pain, and we end up going through a break. Well, the break allows us access to a new way of living, a new mindset. It allows us to be able to start again. It's nothing like hitting rock bottom to realize who you are in life, and then you build on that. The same thing is in power. You realize who you are when you're paying attention to everything that is important to you. Now, when we say pay attention, we're not saying pay attention to the distractions. We're saying be intentional with what you pay attention to. Be intentional with the power that you have in you, and the power that's connected to you, and the power that's coming into you. Pay attention to those, and then you build based on that power so that you can live a life of power instead of living a normal, mediocre, mundane life. And it's okay. And then every now and again, you just might feel a little surge, and then you go back to the mediocre, mundane. Like, no, real power allows us to live a life of fulfillment, a life that is energizing, a life that produces power. We went through pain to produce power for the vision. It allows us to then have a vision full of power. And then we can operate out of that power because we had to identify what that power is and identify how it connects to us. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Oh my God, Tichet, oh my God. I have so much to say about what you're talking about. I love the angle that you're taking when it comes down to power and applying it to this next move, because we want to feel alive. You mentioned that so many times, and it takes power to feel alive because we're living under a system that is not supportive of us being our higher and best selves. It's designed to keep us sick and broken. It profits from, people, a whole lot of people are better off in so many ways when there are people that are less fortunate, are sick or poor or broke or whatever it might be. So it takes power to decide that you're going to live a life above the mediocrity, like you said, above the system, above the norm, above the routine. Why does it take power? Because if that's what the systemic lifestyle is, then most of the people you encounter in the course of a day have settled for and tolerate and now are coping with the fact that they don't feel alive in the things that they're doing. They're doing these things every single day, and it's not triggering anything. It's not meaningful or fulfilling. It's not touching them in a way that they need to be touched. I remember having a coaching session with an attractive thinker. And at the end of the session, one of the testimonials that she wrote back to me as a result of this session was, she said she had to take a breather. She had to step back from the session after it was over and ask God, what just happened? Because somebody touched me where I hadn't been touched in a long time. See, it requires power to get to that place in your life. Now, what we've done to get to where we are, this next move is going to require a whole nother method to get to this heartfelt desire, this place where you feel alive. This next move, this desire that you have to feel alive, this desire that you have to realign your life, break down the beliefs. Again, the Attractive Thinker Experience on Amazon will really give you the tools to do that. This desire that you have to be yourself, to feel alive again. See, what you're really saying, Tichet, is when we desire to feel alive again, we really want to allow, what we're saying is we want to align our lives with what brings us joy, with what is meaningful to us. If we're going to live, we don't want to keep showing up every day and giving our 24 hours away, and we don't even get to show up in our day. And if we're not showing up in our day, then who is walking around and doing these things that looks like us? If I'm not showing up in my day, then who's living for me? Who's going through these motions for me? There's a huge disconnect from the me that copes to the me that feels alive. There's a gap there. And that's where we need power. We need power to bridge that gap. We need power to bring these two personalities together, these two identities together, so that you feel alive. When these two identities are in disagreement, where is the life? Where is the meaning? Where is the fulfillment? Where is that thing that makes you feel connected and rooted and grounded and gives life meaning? It all begins on the inside. So many times we think that it starts on the outside. It has to be something that I don't have that's making me feel this way. It has to be something that I don't have that could change my situation. It has to be something that I don't have that would bring me joy. I'm missing something. We always look on the outside thinking that it's a physical structure or something tangible that we can hold in our hand, not understanding that our first source of power is self-love. Our first source of power is trusting ourselves. Our first source of power is believing in ourselves again and again and again. Our first source of power is understanding that when I love myself and I give myself the absolute best, that I begin to attract things that bring that kind of love into my experience instead of going outside of myself, my powerful self, thinking that I can find the love that I seek in something or someone else, instead of becoming the love that I desire to not just seek or have, but now I'm attracting it with flow and ease. It's just showing up because I decided to make myself a priority. I decided to see myself as valuable. This is where your power is. Your power comes from your core, your center, your heart. And if your heart isn't in it, I believe, I can't remember, it may have been Shalimar, if your heart isn't in it, a song that he wrote. And if your heart isn't in it, attractive thinker, then there's a huge disconnect. And where's the disconnect? You're disconnected from yourself. You're doing things that you don't like. You're purchasing things that don't even match your color or make you feel alive or make your heart sing. You're hanging out in places that don't make you feel good. They're not touching you where you need to be touched, and you get stuck in this routine because we're creatures of habit. I'm telling you, when you lock in a habit, man, that thing is rooted and fortified, and it's going to take power to undo that habit because you're not working against anyone else. You're working against an old self that you're trying to rid yourself of so that you can embrace this new person of power. It takes power to be you. Do you know that, attractive thinker? It takes power to be you. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be their authentic selves. Everybody would be happy, quote unquote. Everybody would be doing things that are in alignment with what their heart desires, their dreams, and their goals if we tapped into that power. It takes power to be real with yourself, because then you have to shift some things. Now it takes power to shift some things. It takes power to look at the relationships that you have built up until this point, and then discern and decide which ones make you feel alive and contribute to you loving yourself and you being your highest and best self, which ones support you in living your dream, and which ones do not. It takes power to take a look at that, just to look at it, to share, not to make no decisions, not to trying to say who's what, but just to look at it. Some people don't even want to look at it because, oh, I can't figure out who I need to, make some adjustments with in my circle. We've been friends for 40, 50, 100,000 years, and this person's always been there, and they yeah, it's cool. They may not be doing a bunch of nothing, but they ain't nothing wrong with them. It takes power to look at that and then look at how worthy you are. It takes power to see yourself as valuable and worthy enough to be supported. There's an affirmation that is on the Attractive Thinker website in the store. It's called the Vision and Mindset Clarity Affirmation that I use as a part of my mental breakfast every morning. And it says, I love myself enough. One of the affirmations says, I love myself enough to surround myself with people who bring out the best in me. That takes a lot of self-love to do that. That means people who do not bring out the best in you are not even an option. You don't even consider it. You don't have to sit there and break your brain trying to figure out how you're going to sift these relationships around you when you know for sure that they're not supporting you. They're not making you feel alive. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It just means that they're not right for making you feel alive. So it takes power to make those kinds of choices and decisions. When I used to hear this down through the years about you can live your dream and you can have whatever your heart desires and God wants you to be your best self and all this and that, I would hear that. And then I would think about the decisions that I would have to make in order to shift myself back into the rightful position, whereas I'm putting me first. My God, Tichet, it was exhausting to think of the changes that I would have to make, the positions that I was in, the roots that I had grown, the relationships that I had developed, the beliefs that I had believed, the thoughts that I think, the feelings that I was addicted to feeling. When you're not feeling alive or feeling yourself or putting yourself first or loving yourself, you're addicted to feeling neglected. You're addicted to feeling like you're second class. You're addicted to not being put first or preferred or guarded or protected or loved or treated with respect or talked to like you are a human being of value. You're addicted to that. When I say addicted to it, the emotions that we carry in our body about these experiences, we become comfortable with them, so much so to shed. Whereas if a new emotion tries to come in like joy, or you aligning with your authentic self or that self-love, it feels uncomfortable. And the first thing we do with discomfort is we move away from it. Even if it's a good thing, even if it's the right thing, we move away from what feels uncomfortable and we fall right back. It's like we're snapped, we're pulled back like a bungee cord, right back into the pot of emotions that we've become addicted to because it's comfortable, it feels better. You know, it takes effort to embrace a new emotion when you've been feeling sad. You've gotten comfortable with feeling sad all your life. You've become comfortable with not having your needs met or not being preferred. You've become comfortable with you not being a priority in your own life. In your own life. So it is going to take some power. And that's why I really want you, Attractive Thinker, to tune into page 37 in the Attractive Thinker Experience. Get your copy. It's on Amazon. It's available for everyone because I want you to read this chapter called Power, because it will support you in getting your power back. It will support you in how to use your power to reposition you, put you back in the forefront of your life because you matter just that much. And any and everything that we're going to create from this life will come from our place. Anything worthy that we're going to create is going to come from our place of power. Back to you, Tichet.
I could jump out of my seat because there's so many things that I was just thinking, and you started going it, and it's like you keep coming with that power and power and power. See, this is why we do this show, because when we have these type of conversations with people and you're transferring ideas and energy and they're both of power, you keep going back and forth with power and thoughts, new thoughts and ideas that we haven't had anymore. I mean, that we haven't had in a while. And we start to feel the energy of it, right? So I want to back up for a second because you talked about showing up in our day. And I want to make sure we don't move too fast past what that means, showing up in our day. You say, who shows up in my day, walking in my body, walking in my shoes? Who's showing up in our day? And the thing is, when it comes to self-love and self-care, it is important that we show up in our day. One of the things that I've learned is that we have to be compassionate with ourselves and forgiving with ourselves and trusting ourselves and all those things in order for us to be accepting of ourselves so that we know that it is okay to show up in your day. Some of us don't know that it's okay to show up in your day. We think we got to wake up, put on clothes, makeup, get dressed, fight traffic just to get to be somebody else's employee and tell somebody what to do and have somebody tell us when to do stuff, when to enjoy our family, when to eat, when to sleep, when to take time off, when to care about your own self. And then we come home and we do it all over again, over and over and over again. And then when we have time for like ourselves, we fill it with time for other people. We fill it for time to do stuff that other people wanted us to do that we necessarily didn't want to do. And that's what we talk about when we talk about self-love. You have to pay attention to what makes you you. You have to pay attention to what makes you feel alive. And Dr. Toni, you also talked about having an addiction to suffering, or having an addiction to being mediocre, or not showing up in our life, or not feeling alive. There's withdrawals when it comes to those addictions as well, just like any other addiction. There's withdrawals. When we think about addiction, we're thinking about something that we have a hard time doing without. Something as soon as we stop, it causes some sort of disruption. It causes some sort of internal torment. It causes some sort of inner turmoil when you try to stop these habits, these thoughts, these traditions. When you try to change your life, you're going to have some withdrawal symptoms. But when you're dealing with addiction and if those withdrawal symptoms come up, you have to push through them. You got to let them come through and push past them, knowing that when you're done addicted to suffering, when you're done with the withdrawals, power is waiting for you. You have to realize that when you allow yourself to actually know that there's going to be some disruption, there's going to be some discomfort when you try to stop with the life of mediocrity and try to get a life. There's going to be some disruptive going on. There's going to be some it's going to feel like a setback, but it's not. Whenever you're dealing with an addiction, soon as you stop whatever it is, you start feeling a little ill, or you start feeling, because it's uncomfortable, you're retraining your body to do something else. You're retraining your mind to live a different life. You're re-energizing your body, and that means you have to pour out the old in order for the new to come in. So when you have an addiction to suffering, it's the same thing. You have to be willing to let go, first and foremost, of the thing that is holding you to your suffering. You have to be willing to let go of that mindset that's holding you to your suffering, and then go through the discomfort of, what if I'm wrong? What if I need this? What if I can't let go of that? What if I never have anything else? What if I lose everything? What if I lose this? What if I do that? You losing yourself is the biggest problem in the world. So if you have to gain yourself and lose the world, then so be it. Because once you gain yourself, you'll build a world that makes you feel alive and well. You'll build a world that's worth living. Imagine that for a second, a life that's worth living. Imagine for a second what it would be like to wake up every day and to have a life that you feel so energetically connected to, a life that you feel like you're thriving, your creativity is flowing, you feel in love with your minutes, your moments. You feel in love with who you are. You feel in love with what you're creating. And so because you feel in love with who you are and what you're creating in your life, you start drawing in more love moments. But first, you got to get past the pain of letting go of the old life in order to accept the new life. And if you are addicted to suffering, you have to allow yourself to push past the pain. Like we said last week, in order to give birth to something new, you're going to have to go through that pain, but you have to know that that pain is temporary. It's not permanent. And so when we trying to go into a life of self-love, when we trying to move into this next life, it's going to take us to muscle up and really allow ourselves self-love. When you're going through withdrawal, this is where you give yourself self-love. This is where yes, you have some discomfort going on, but you nurse your mind back to health. You nurse your spirit back to health. You don't go back to the addiction to silence the withdrawals. You don't go back to the suffering to silence the uncomfortableness. You nurse yourself into a life of power so that you don't have to keep feeling that life of suffering. Living in suffering is not normal. It doesn't have to be. Living life in pain is not normal. And there's a lot of people out here who feel like all I've known is pain, all I've known was depression, all I've known was this, and that's all I know. And they start to build their life based on that limited thinking. And that's not what life called you to be. We got to come out of that in order, we have to let go of that old mindset in order to gain a new mindset so that we can live a life of fulfillment. Yes, if you're listening to this episode, a life of fulfillment is right here at your fingertips. It is here for you to live. It is here for you to enjoy. We are not here just to make a buck and then that's it. We are here to live, to discover, to show up as us. How can you show up in your day if you don't know what that means? So first we got to understand, what does it mean to show up in the day? So we have an episode called Identity Crisis where we teach how to understand your identity. What identity do you want to have? What holds your identity? What makes you think this is who I am versus this is not who I am? You know, where is your identity connected to? So we have to understand what makes us us and then accept that and then allow ourselves to love. A lot of people don't know how to love themselves. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of people that are teaching self-love other than to say, love yourself, take a bath, take a bath, do your nails, do your hair, put on makeup. But how do you love yourself?
That's right.
Spiritually, emotionally, financially, physically? How do you love yourself in all areas, even socially? How do you love yourself? That means, to me, loving yourself is number one, understanding yourself. You got to get acquainted with who you are.
I like that.
Who are you without the opinion of everybody else? Who are you without all of the limited thoughts and beliefs that people were teaching you? And do you even believe it? Have you researched it to find out if what they've been teaching is true? And even if they taught is true, is it for you? Because everything is not for everybody, right? We are not one size fit all. No. So you have to get acquainted with who you are, your identity. You have to accept it, and then you have to nurture it and protect it, right? When you are nurturing, you have to protect it at the same time, because a lot of things is going to come up because you decided to show up in your day. But you have to understand where you stand in life and have the ability to see things that are not for you coming a mile ahead. How can you see things that are not for you if you don't know what's for you because you don't know you? How can we expect love from anything else, that artificial feeling of love from anything else, when the real love is coming from us? We are not, like you said, Dr. Toni, the love that we have should not come from an external source. It comes from an internal source. It creates the power and then allows us to produce that power, which it's like cause and effect, which produce an effect that comes with the cause of living in power.
So you mentioned something. I don't want to cut you off, but you mentioned something. What you're talking about right now. Earlier during our conversation, you mentioned about how powerful we are. You mentioned the systems. You're talking right now, you're talking about the connection. Please share that as well, because sometimes life experiences can cause us to lose ourselves and we forget how powerful we truly are. Talk to us about that.
So when we're trying to love ourselves and we are identifying with who we are, we have to, remember I said, get understanding to who we are. We are a walking intelligence. We have so many systems in us, right? that we don't have to depend on an external system in order to thrive. We have all of these different things. There's certain things that respond to you without your knowledge. There's voluntary and involuntary movement. And if you can understand that, you can understand that in different areas of your life. Voluntary and involuntary movements happen in all areas of your life. We have so much intelligence going on that it's hard for us to understand who we are in one day. So we have to be patient with ourselves. So when somebody and then look, we're ever evolving. So the thing is you got to get used to understanding that as soon as you think you know yourself, you've grown. And then you got to get to know yourself again. So this is a lifestyle, getting to know yourself, learning to love yourself, and then loving yourself is a lifestyle. This is not something you can just do one time, set it and forget it, and that's it. You have to be willing to understand how complex and simple we are in this physical body, right? How much our mind, how complex and simple our mind is in our spirit. There's so much more to life than what we see. There's so much more to what we know. There's more of what we don't know than what it is that we do know. And from that, we have to let go of the limitations of believing we're just here, just to be here, just to operate under somebody else's system. We're not supposed to just operate under anybody's system. And then the thing is when you go out here and try to get power from a system that's not yours. Now, mind you, we are a walking intelligence. When you try to use external sources to fulfill internal intelligence, you're getting artificial power. You're getting that artificial power, and these are the type of things that cause addiction, because you go out here, you get a car, that car makes you feel alive and energetic, which is what we're supposed to feel. You get used to that car, then you bored, then you feel like you got to go get another car. This is good, come and see, and then you get bored. Then you like, I got to get more. Next thing you know, you got 18 cars, 15 houses, and now you got 11 wives. You know what I mean? Like something in you is calling to feel alive, but you're thinking the external world is going to give it to you, but it's not that the external world can't give it to you. What they're giving you is not sustainable, because that's artificial power, that's artificial happiness, that's artificial peace, there's artificial love. The real stuff is on the inside when we understand our identity and understand how to love ourselves and understand what makes us us, what makes you move, what makes you go, what turns you on as a person, what turns you on, what turns your mind on, what allows you to feel ignited and want to do more. What do you do every day that makes you want to get up in the morning? What do you do that makes you want to tune in, tap into who you are? What do you have? And some of us, the thing is, Dr. Toni, is a lot of us spent a lot of time not knowing what turns us on.
Yes.
Because we haven't got out of a system that didn't allow us to have the time to research our own being, trying to get external resources, trying to get homes and trying to get cars. And there's nothing wrong with getting homes and cars, but if you're going to get it from the power that you got within. But when you, but that external power is only going to produce, artificial power, and it's limited. Where the internal system you got going on, the internal power is going to produce something sustainable and something that gives. It's the gift that keeps on giving over and over and over again. So we have to get used to allowing us to be ourselves. You talked a lot about allowing us to be, giving us permission to be ourselves, and that comes with compassion. But it's like, what are we giving permission to? We have to understand what that really means. Just like we're understanding how to love ourselves, we're understanding how to protect, we have to understand what that really means, because this is not surface talk. You know, we have to understand that when we start allowing ourselves to be ourselves, everybody's not going to be happy for you.
Wow.
Everybody's not going to be ready for you. Everybody cannot handle that smile upon your face. Everybody can't handle your peace, and everybody certainly can't handle all of the knowledge and wisdom you got going on in your head. Everybody's not ready. So you have to know who's in your corner and who's not. We always say you can find out who your friends are through a birth, a wedding, a funeral, or if you go through a hardship, or if you go through a great blessing, you find out who's for you and who's against you. Why do we have to wait until those things happen to find out who's for us when the system that is in us will tell us? That system we call discernment will tell us who's for us and who's not for us. And so in loving ourselves, we have to be able to receive it and say, nah, I'll pass on that friendship. I'll pass on that relationship. It's not you. It's not, I'm not against you. May you find somebody that blesses you and love you as you need to be loved, but I'll pass on that friendship and be okay with that. When you love yourself, you're not beating yourself up with guilt, fear, and shame. You're not allowing yourself to live in a place of guilt every time you do something that puts a smile on your face. You're supposed to put a smile on your face. As long as you're not infringing upon somebody else's will, you are supposed to have a smile on your face. Why is it so easy to sit here and have tears falling down our face and think that that's okay? But when we talk about a smile upon our face, it seems so far-fetched. It doesn't. It shouldn't, because we're supposed to discover what makes us feel empowered. We're supposed to discover who we are, the system that we're carrying, operate in it, allow ourselves to operate in it, protect it, and allow it to produce what it produces. Um, and then Dr. Toni, you said we have to remove all other options. When you learn about yourself and you're confident in who you are, removing the other options should not even be a hard thing. Because when you learn, you learn to love yourself when you can walk away from something without any major thing happening, simply because it did not make you feel alive. Simply because your spirit said, this is not for me. Because some things are good, right? But we want greatness.
Yeah.
We always talk about shifting from good to great. Some things are good and that's fine. But if you are flatlining in life, we don't have time for good. We want something great. Great is what makes us feel alive. Great is what makes us get that power. So we have to pay attention to greatness that is in us, that is us, in order to produce greatness that is greatness that represents who we are. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
So phenomenal, Tichet. What a beautiful message today. Attractive thinkers, I trust that you have captured these gems in your Attractive Thinker notebook, and you have your copy of the Attractive Thinker on Amazon. You have to have your copy because we're going to be talking about a lot of topics that are stemming from that experience, the Attractive Thinker experience on Amazon. It's a resource. It's a 726 page hardcover, full color resource, a guide. It's a treasure. And we're getting testimonials back already as a result of the Attractive Thinkers having their own personalized copy, because they're like, oh my God, like I can't consume this in one sitting. Like, and every time I go back to it, no matter what page I turn to, it's always a resource there to give me an answer for where I am right now. It's always a tool to shift me back into my power, like we talked about. So if you have your copy already, turn to page 37 and just meditate on that chapter this week, the chapter called Power. Just meditate on that this week and listen to this message over and over and over again. This message of there's a certain level of power that you're going to need for this next move in your life. There's some points that you talked about, Tichet, that I want to highlight. We were talking about making ourselves, positioning ourselves so that we feel alive. You mentioned, I believe you mentioned a car, and you mentioned, how we want to feel alive and overjoyed. And when I heard you say that, I said, well, if the car is bringing the joy, then how are we feeling? How does our mood shift when the car breaks down or if you don't have a car? You know, you talked about how we should not be looking to external things, people, places, or things to bring us that power and that joy and that sense of feeling alive. Because if we manufacture it on the inside, whether you have a car, the car breaks down, or wheel blows, or whatever, it doesn't affect or shift your joy, because the joy was manufactured from the inside. The car was just something to enjoy. It didn't manufacture joy. So I want you to capture that attractive thinker gem in your notebook. Another thing that came to my mind was you mentioned artificial joy, about the world offering artificial joy. And when you said that, there's a song that we used to sing when I was a little girl. I grew up in church, and there's a song we used to say, "This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, 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 this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me." And guess what? The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Think about that. We're talking about you manufacturing this joy on the inside of yourself. When it starts on the inside, who can take that? Nobody can reach inside of your spirit and take your peace. Who can take your joy? If the joy started on the inside, the world didn't give it. And the world can't take something that they didn't give, because it starts at your root, your foundation. Before we close out, I want to highlight a couple of things that I want to make sure that you're grasping this message, that this next move in your life. What is the next move? It could be anything. What is the next move in your life that you're desiring to accomplish to make you feel alive again, to realign with yourself again, to put you first again, so that you reach your highest potential and fulfill the desires of your heart? What is that next move? Because whatever it is, it's going to require some power. Now, Tichet, you said you have to get acquainted with yourself. Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. Get acquainted with yourself. The next thing you said, Tichet, you have to accept yourself. You have to accept yourself right where you are. Do you know it takes power to do that? Because the first thing the mind goes to and starts steering in the direction of everything you did wrong and why you're not worthy, of all the mistakes that you made and why you don't deserve it. Get acquainted with yourself and accept yourself right where you are. Then you got to begin to nurture yourself, like you cradle a little baby and you take care of the baby, and you stroke the baby's head and you rub the baby's little fingers and toes and you stroke the baby's little cheeks. You have to nurture yourself like that, because you matter. You matter, attractive thinker. You're just that important. And I guarantee you, when you begin to position yourself in a place of power by putting yourself first, your vision is going to become more clear, and you're going to be able to see yourself as the most valuable person that you are. I want you to think about that. So you said, get acquainted with yourself, accept yourself, nurture yourself, and then protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. Protect this love that you're giving to yourself. People want so much from a relationship with someone, but the thought never crossed their mind that they're supposed to give themselves that love first. When you give yourself that love first, your choices are better. The decisions that you make are better. They're all in alignment with what you love and respect. You know what decisions to make. Certain things you won't accept, certain things you allow and you don't allow others. It all comes from stepping into your power to see yourself as so valuable that you're no longer an option. It is a priority. It is a necessity. So before we close out, this is what came to me, Tichet. I want to, because you said something. You said, imagine waking up to a life worth living. I want you to imagine that, attractive thinker. Wherever you are, if you're operating machinery or driving a car, or you're not in a safe environment, I want you to get safe before you do this activity. Just sit with yourself and be safe, and bring all of your thoughts into this moment right now and imagine. You have that right, and you have the power. Your imagination is a powerful thing. You can imagine whatever you want. So imagine waking up to a life worth living. I'm not talking about whatever state you're in right now, whatever your thoughts are, whatever you're going through. Use your imagination. That's where your power is. Imagine waking up to a life worth living. And what does that feel like? What does that sound like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What do you see? What do you see? And whatever, I mean, did you feel your emotions shift? Did you feel the weight lift? Did you feel lighter? Did you feel like it's true that it's possible? Well, I'm here to tell you, Tichet and I are here to tell you today that that's where your power lies, because you just saw something that no one else on the planet saw. And you have the power within yourself to make that happen. Stay connected to Beyond the Break, our YouTube channel, the Attractive Thinker Generation Global Movement, so that you feel supported. So you're around other people who use their imagination to create their lives and step into their power, and who put themselves first and love themselves. That's where you're going to thrive and grow. It's a struggle to try and grow and love yourself and put yourself first when you're surrounded by things that don't do that, things that don't support that. And you're always being questioned, and you're always struggling to come up with an answer and justify why you have a right to create a life that you wake up feeling alive in, a life that you love, why you have a right to put you first. Why can't you just be like you used to be? It takes power to put yourself first. And like you said, Tichet, let the old self go. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at the Attractive Thinker the Attractive Thinker Guru. We are the generation. This is a global movement to support you with mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance, so that you can position yourself to feel alive again. Create a life that makes you feel alive. Tichet, tell our audience where they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, visionaries who desire to move mountains but just need help lifting the heaviness, so that you can create a new vision in a new life that you love for yourself. Again, go to my contest us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you, so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break, a life that you love beyond the break. Imagine that. Again, www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers, get your resource today, The Attractive Thinker on Amazon. I promise you, it will provide the mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance that you need, so that you feel alive again and create that life that you love waking up to. You hear us always say, our life's work, that's to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're doing it. Think attractive.